What's going on, YouTube? So, you guys already know I'm recording this a little bit late, but I've got some Week 8 NFL predictions for you guys. Now, you guys know me. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. So, with that being said, Thursday night's game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You guys obviously know I was rooting for the Ravens to win that game because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in the Carolina Panthers division. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina in third, Saints in fourth, aka dead last. But yeah, anyway, the Panthers have been pulling themselves back together lately ever since Steve Wilks took control as head coach. Well, he's the interim head coach, but Steve Wilks has been doing a pretty good job so far. Of course, Steve Wilks has been in the NFL much longer than Matt Rule has, but nonetheless, Steve Wilks was part of our defensive coaching staff back in 2015 when we went 15-1 and went to the Super Bowl. Now, I don't remember if he was the secondary coach or defensive coordinator. Nonetheless, he was part of our defensive coaching staff, nonetheless. So, with that being said, you guys all know Matt Rule's track record so far in his, I want to say, maybe 3.5 years almost with the Carolina Panthers. You guys know his win-loss record as the head coach. So, the game against the Rams, the week after Matt Rule got fired, Tepper throws Steve Wilks in as the interim head coach, and so far, he is 1-1. Now, in Wilks' defense, of course, he was given the interim head coach job, and he was left with all the stuff that Matt Rule was working with. So, I say we give Steve Wilks some time. We give him the rest of the year. There's no reason for us to go pursue a head coach, right away. I would wait until the end of the season, and as we get through this season week by week, I would begin to evaluate Steve Wilks, and if he does a good enough job, I would make Steve Wilks the full-time head coach. Now, some of you guys that may be new to my channel may be watching one of my videos for the first time, specifically this one, and you guys might have otherwise to say about Steve Wilks and might bring up his track record from Arizona. To be fair, Steve Wilks was never really given a fair chance when he was in Arizona. And with Steve Wilks being given another chance to be the head coach of a team, I say we give Steve Wilks a chance. We give Steve Wilks a chance to, fight for that starting head coach job. for him to be the full-time head coach. So, I'm not going to waste any more time talking about that, guys, and let's get right on into these predictions. First up, we have Denver. We have Jacksonville. It is an 8:30 game. I'm pretty sure that's going to be, since it's a morning game, I'm assuming it's probably going to be in another country, like Germany or London. It's going to be another one of those games, but it's going to be at 8:30 nonetheless. Denver Broncos, Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going with the Jaguars to win that game. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins and we have the Detroit Lions. Now, given that the Miami Dolphins started out hot in the beginning of the season, and they've slowed down quite a bit. I think they're in like second or third place in their division. So I'm going to have to go with the Lions to make a massive upset over the Dolphins. I'm picking the Lions to win that game. Next up, you guys already know, Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons. I'm rooting for the Carolina Panthers that game, and I'm also picking them to win that game. Because, guys, the stakes are high. But with those high stakes, we also have a choice to make. So I'm going to get into that choice here in just a minute. And I'm going to let you guys know what the stakes are. Tampa Bay lost their game. If we beat Atlanta, and if the Saints lose their game against the Raiders, which they most likely will, and I'm going to pick the Raiders to win that game too against the Saints. If the Saints lose and we beat Atlanta, the Carolina Panthers will hold first place in the NFC South Division. Yeah, sure, we have a losing record right now, but for all of you true Carolina Panthers fans like myself, you guys know this isn't the first time we've held first place with a losing record. So, those are the stakes, guys. We win, and we're in first place. We lose, obviously, we are going to stay tied with the Saints for third place. And the Atlanta Falcons will move up to first place. So, knowing the stakes for that game, here's the choice that we have to make. And the choice is, do we tank for the rest of the year? Do we tank for the rest of the year so we can hold the number 1 overall draft pick? Or do we shock the world and win this game and take first place? Do we actually try to, rack up some W's and hold first place and make our first playoff appearance in quite some time? That's the choice that the Panthers are going to have to make. Next up, another 12 o'clock game between the Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Like I said last week, guys, the Arizona Cardinals, they now have DeAndre Hopkins back. So obviously that's going to give Kyler Murray another weapon to throw to when need be. So normally I would go with the Vikings to win this game because, they're 5-1, 5-2 or something like that. 5-1, 5-2 or 6-1, 6-2, something like that. Let me actually check the record while I have the games pulled up on my phone. Let me check on that record real quick. If it'll... Okay. The Vikings are 5-1. So, yeah. I'm going to have to go with the Arizona Cardinals to win that game. Now, just because I'm picking the Arizona Cardinals to win that game, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be an easy one. It is for sure going to be a very tough game because the Vikings are looking much better than they did last season. I think this is the first time in a long time that the Vikings had this good of a record. So I'm going to have to go with the Arizona Cardinals to pull off a massive upset. Next game, Chicago, Dallas. I'm going to have to go with the Dallas Cowboys to win this game. Just like I mentioned in my third episode of my franchise series, which, by the way, you guys will be getting here pretty soon. I was going to upload it the other day, so that way you guys would be able to watch it either today or tomorrow. But I'm going to have to get that episode uploaded tomorrow. So that way you guys will either see episode 3 of my franchise series either tomorrow or Monday. My power box over here was going crazy for a minute. Sounding like a freaking jet engine. Okay, power box, can you stop doing that? Can you just be quiet for a minute? Thank you. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with Dallas to win this game. Because this is probably one of the more tougher opponents that Chicago's had to face. I mean, they did defeat New England just recently, but New England hasn't really been doing as good as Dallas has been doing, so it's going to be a little bit of a tougher game for Chicago. And that is why I am picking the Dallas Cowboys to win that game. Next up, Raiders, Saints. You guys already know my prediction for that one, as I just mentioned it earlier. I'm going to have to go with the Las Vegas Raiders to defeat the New Orleans Saints. And like I mentioned before, since the Saints are most likely going to lose, if we beat Atlanta, we will move up in first place. Next up, our second to last 12 o'clock game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I have bet against the Eagles before. If you recall, picking Dallas over Philadelphia that one game, and then the Giants. Well, actually, I don't think the Giants have played the Eagles this year yet. I think they'll play the Giants a little bit later in the year, but I'm going to have to go with Philadelphia. I'm going to have to go with the Eagles to win this game. because the Steelers, yeah, they've been looking somewhat. I wouldn't say they're not looking too bad right now, but they're not really looking, Dallas Cowboy caliber or New York Giant. They're not really that big of a threat to Philadelphia. So I think the Eagles are going to go 7-0 and beat Pittsburgh. Next up, we have the Patriots, we have the Jets, the last 12 o'clock game for Sunday. So I'm going to have to go with the New York Jets. Because, I mean, the Patriots, they did just get beat by Chicago. I mean, the Bears of all teams. Yeah, that tells you how far. Yeah, that pretty much tells you how far down the Patriots have gone over the past year or two. Yeah. And when I mean down, I mean, yeesh, they're not looking good. So, as compared to where the Jets, they are looking much better than they did last season. Now, of course, I do have this theory that I think the Jets tanked on purpose. I think the New York Jets tanked on purpose. I think we had three teams losing on purpose: the Jaguars, the Jets, and the Lions. I think those three teams tanked on purpose just so they can get the players that they needed in order to sort of rebuild their team and start, climbing their way back up. I mean, if you want the number one overall draft pick, you kind of do have to tank you kind of do have to lose on purpose. So, I mean, that's the whole that's literally the name of the game when you want to tank. That's why it's called tanking. Because you're losing on purpose. Next up, Titans, Texans. I'm going to have to go with the Titans. The Texans haven't really been doing too well. Have they finally won their first game, by the way? Because I don't think they have won a single game yet. Of course, I haven't really been keeping track with them. Oh, they have. Okay. They have won a game. They're like the worst team right now in the NFL. Only one win. Like literally the worst team right now. Let's see what's going on in the NFC. There's probably a team in the NFC, the Lions. Texans and Lions so far. It's the Texans and the Lions fighting for that number one draft pick. Bunch of dust in the air making me cough. Anyway, I'm going to have to go with the Titans on that game. Because I think the Texans, I want to say that they're tanking on purpose. And, I mean, it's obvious that the Lions are. It's obvious that the Lions are. But the Texans, I'm not so sure. Maybe they really are that bad of a team this year. So we'll just have to wait and see. We will definitely have to keep an eye on Houston. Next up, another 3 o'clock matchup between the Giants and the Seahawks. I'm going to have to go with the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith has been impressive as of late. So I feel like Geno Smith is going to be pulling off a massive upset over the Giants. Well, it wouldn't really be that massive, but it would still be an upset nonetheless, because how many people think that Geno Smith is going to beat a team like the Giants? Probably nobody. Next up, second to last of the 3 o'clock games. Colts, Commanders. Colts being the home team. Matt Ryan is benched. So, knowing that, I think the Commanders are going to win. I'm going to have to go with the Commanders on that game. Next up, a division matchup between the Niners and the Rams. That is the last 3 o'clock game for Sunday afternoon. I'm going to have to go with the 49ers, y'all. I'm going to have to go with the 49ers. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I told y'all so. With Christian McCaffrey, I told y'all so. He didn't get injured. Of course, he still doesn't really know how the Niners offense works. But most of y'all in the comment section of those posts that I've been reading on Facebook and Instagram, most of y'all were saying that Christian McCaffrey was going to get injured that game. He did not. And he balled out a little bit. So, I told y'all so. I told you guys so. Now, it's only been one game as a 49er, but mark my words, man, Christian McCaffrey, once he gets used to knowing how the 49er offense works, once he gets used to knowing the playbook, he's going to ball out. Mark my words. Mark my words. McCaffrey is going to ball out, and then every single one of you guys are going to wish that McCaffrey was still here in Carolina. Mark my words. Next up, Packers, Bills. I'm going to have to go with the Bills. Like, it's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. Packers haven't been looking very good as of late. So, Green Bay is going to have to... They're going to have to do something to pull themselves back together. Because they were doing great at the start of the season. They were doing, well, not great, but they were doing decently well at the start of the season. But this is the freaking Buffalo Bills, y'all. Von Miller on that defensive line, he is going to be wreaking havoc. This should be an easy win for the Bills. Last two games of the week. Monday night's game, the second of the two Monday night games. We have the Bengals, Browns. I'm pretty sure that's another division matchup, but I'm going with the Bengals. I'm going with the Bengals that game. The Browns haven't been doing as good as they were at the start of the season. So, if the Browns don't get the running game going again, it's going to be a long day for that Cleveland defense. So that is why I am picking the Cincinnati Bengals to win over the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is the first game for week 9, but you guys know me. I never really cover the Thursday night games. So I'm going to start doing that this week. We have the Eagles. We have the Texans. That's going to be another W for the Eagles. That should be an easy W for the Eagles. So guys, just so I can cut this video short, that's where I'm going to leave my predictions. So, if you guys like these videos, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and guys, I will see y'all in week 9. I hope y'all stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day or night. And I will see you guys in week 9. James Tate, out.